All right, let's go through some animal behavior notes. So these are just like intro to animal behavior. It's going to cover general information. Okay, so the first topic is anthropomorphism. What the heck is that? So anthropomorphism is when you attribute human characteristics to animals, giving them emotions or traits that are usually human traits. And it's a problem when you're observing animals because using those types of phrases don't really tell you anything about what is actually happening. So, for example, when we were looking at our bull picture, saying the bull is mad or someone made the bull angry, those emotions are actually human emotions, not necessarily from a bull standpoint. It doesn't explain what the behavior is or why it's happening. So I kind of have an interesting, a funny YouTube video for you guys to watch. So I'll let you watch that. You can pause this video you can pause this video and click that link. Okay, so what is animal behavior? It's the study of the how and why animals interact with each other, both within and among other species and their environment. So we're looking at things like proximate causes and ultimate causes. Proximate causes, like this questions how the way that these interactions occur, and the ultimate questions are answering the why question. Why are these behaviors occurring? Is it because it's a survival thing? From evolution standpoint. Okay, so here's some examples of different types of behaviors. This one is intraspecific. That means between members of the same species. So mate choice, male competition, alarm calls where they, warn everybody else about danger, parental care, those are all within the same species. And then we have interspecific interactions. That's between different species. So things like predation, parasitism, mutualism, where two organisms benefit from their relationship with each other, and competition for resources. And then also interactions with the environment, like foraging. Foraging is when an animal is looking for food. Nest site selection and signal modification. So sending signals either through the air by sound, vibrations in the ground, or in the water. Okay, and then the question is, why do people study behavior? It's probably the first science that humans had. Our ancient ancestors needed to find food, and they were dependent on the knowledge of animal behavior for that. We also have a control or management of species. So we have food and game species, agricultural pests, invasive species, endangered species, and we need to understand how and why these animals have the behaviors they do so that we can control, those particular populations. And then also understanding and modification of our own behavior, maybe watching other animals and studying them helps us have insights into humans and how we behave and why we behave the way we do. Okay, and then there's curiosity. Maybe we're just curious, just for science purposes, we just want to know why. I mean, humans are curious by nature, wanting to have a better understanding of our world around us. So this just showing you like the history of animal behavior, Paleolithic art drawn on cave walls, from like 40,000 years ago. This is indirect evidence that maybe our primitive human ancestors were really observing animal behavior. This is just showing, herding animals, migration patterns, different predators. So it's definitely indicative that our ancestors were paying attention. Here's a scientist, Blurton Jones scientists, that documented they were observing the Kalahari Bushmen's knowledge of animal behavior. They're a more rudimentary group of individuals. They're more of a hunter-gatherer society, similar to how maybe our ancestors lived. So they were able to discern information from how they observed animals, and we can kind of extrapolate from there how our ancestors may have done it. Okay, so why do animals do what they do? Why do birds sing? How do sea turtles navigate the ocean to lay their eggs on the same beach where they hatched? How do honeybees know when the hive needs more food? These are all really good questions. And then animal behavior does ask the what, why, and the how. So the study of animal behavior is called ethology. And if you are a scientist who studies animals and their behavior, you are an ethologist. Just wanted to point out that this is Jane Goodall. She did a tremendous amount of observations with chimpanzees and, the primates in the forests. And then animal behavior is centered around the ability to move. If you think about it, animals seek food, water, and shelter. They play with each other. They seek mates, and all of those require movement. So you could almost say that animal behavior relies on your musculature. You need to be able to move, to vocalize, chemical release for communication, color change. So in order for animals to move, it means they need to use their muscles. And so in a way, you can think about animal behavior being dependent on muscle movement. So that leads us to our nervous systems. Behavior is the result of a reaction to a stimulus. So a stimulus, as we've learned before, is a detectable change in an animal's internal or external environment. So hunger, sound, pain, visual cues, hormonal changes, those are all different types of stimuli that animals can react to and cause certain behaviors. All right, so what is really happening? So knowing some of this information, I want you to watch this next video and think about what the animals are doing and why you think they're doing this, okay? There isn't anything you need to write down. You can take notes if you want to, but I just want you to watch the whole video. It's pretty interesting to see what is exactly going on. Okay, so ethologists do not attempt to describe why an animal is behaving until they have described what they are doing. This removes as much bias as possible. A good scientist doesn't want to just see what they want to see. They want to, be as objective as they can without their own opinions. They have to be able to analyze the data statistically and then come to conclusions about why an animal is behaving a certain way. So for example, you see two gophers interacting with each other, rolling around, hopping around, running to and from each other. As a behavioral ecologist, you would first state the behavior that you're observing. So what was just listed there, the fact that they're rolling around and hopping, those are describing the specific behaviors. And once you make observations about what is happening, then you can try and determine why they're behaving that way. So the behavior you observed could have many different reasons. That list, they could be playing, they could be in mating rituals, it could be aggression or defending their territory. And yeah, I know they don't really normally wear that kind of gear, but I thought it was funny. Okay, so at this point, you're going to go back and go back into Schoology and continue on the rest of your assignments.